brothers and sisters in Christ, I praise the Lord for giving me this opportunity to be with you today and spend some time. I wish to share some of my experience in nearly 4 countries. Everywhere we had a problem, heart disease, which is on the increase. And even though my slides are in English, if you want me to talk in Malayalam in between, I have no problem. Anyway, let me tell you, the aim of my talk is to give you a broad outline of heart problem or health problem globally, all over the world, and also to assist you to identify some risk factors you may have, and to provide a guideline how to live a very healthy life, and to have an interactive session to answer your questions. A lot of people ask, what do you want in life? What do you really want in life? And many people say, I want money, I want car, I want this. But we only need 2 things. Number 1 is peace of mind. Number 2 is good health. Good health is, let me talk about peace of mind. I believe that peace of mind is your own doing. So if you behave and if you do and say everything right, you have peace of mind. If somebody say, I don't have peace of mind, that is your own doing. Health is slightly different. Health is 50-50 or 60-40. So I would say it is your responsibility, 60% responsibility to keep yourself healthy. Okay, the next is, if you have any questions or any doubts, you can raise your hand and stop me. Otherwise, I'll answer all your questions at the end of the day or end of the presentation. So I want to start with a story. This is not a story, my own experience in Dubai. One fine morning, around 4 o'clock, somebody whom I know called me and said, my boss is getting chest pain. What to do? So if you get chest pain, if you think it could be heart, you should call an ambulance. If ambulance is not available, immediately try to get to the hospital. Time is precious. Time is life. So I told him, bring him straight to the hospital. I was at WellCare Hospital at the time, so I waited at the accident emergency. And time went on, nearly 2 hours gone. Then I called a friend again. What happened? He didn't even make to the hospital. He died on the way. So what happens if you call the government ambulance? They don't take to any private hospital. They take you straight to the government hospital. So after about 2 hours waiting, I realized he never made. So if you look into his story, he came to UAE at the age of 24, and he started as an office clerk, and he came up, and he reached the position of a CEO, and picked up a new habit, smoking. Everybody who smokes always blames stress, my work, my stress. So he also picked up something. And his daughter, a second-year medical student, and son, final year of A-levels, preparing for entrance. And more interestingly, his wife is away in India, building a new house. So he has forgotten about himself, that his father died at the age of 50, that he had high cholesterol and marginally high blood sugar. But he didn't have time because he's very busy with his work. He's a CEO of a company. And no time to relax, no time to exercise. And a lot of stress at work, at home, a lot of worry about targets to meet, children, new house being built, finance, overdraft, repayment, so many things. But he never thought this will happen to him. So this is not George's story. This is the story of many of us. We forget in the fast-running world to meet targets. We forget about ourselves. So heart attack comes like a thief at an unexpected time and come often in the prime of life. He was only 47 and he has taken away his very precious life. So if we look at WHO's, World Health Organization's figures, every 2 seconds, one person dies in some part of the world. And this is often due to heart-related death. And if you look at the major killers in the world, heart disease is number 1, accidents number 2, cancers and infections. This is the usual story if you look everywhere. But what about, and if you look globally, any part of the world, heart disease is the major killer. And in the paper, we often see about road traffic accidents. We always think so many people die of accidents. But here, we are still number 2, not number 1. And if you look at the death, this is the government data from 1990 to 2010. This one is death due to heart disease. This is UAE numbers, government published numbers. The number of deaths due to heart disease is on the increase, and it is still increasing. Okay, but I tell you one more sad story. We are seeing more and more young people. When I was in UK, when I was in USA, I was in Southeast Asia, when I was a student, we always believed heart attack comes when you are very old. That is no more true. I'll tell you, my youngest patient I have treated for heart attack is 21-year-old Malayali chap. And yesterday, I admitted a 36-year-old, again Malayali chap, with a heart attack. We had to, middle of the night, we had to go and do angiography, angioplasty. So what I'm trying to say is, now more and more and more young people, not in their 50s, not in their 40s, in their 30s, coming with heart disease. So it is time for us to wake up and understand what's happening and see whether we can prevent it. And in UAE, 25% of all the deaths, so when 4 people die, one of them is due to heart disease. And again, I said 25% of the death is due to heart disease. Heart attack is a major killer, but one of the worry is 25% of the heart attack, patients with heart attack die within 1 year. 25%, 1 in 4 die. And 50% of them die within the first hour. Like our patient, Mr. George, they don't even reach hospital. So this is why if you have a suspicion of a heart attack, get an ambulance, get to the hospital. Okay. And to know a bit more about the heart, we always thought it is the central core for love, emotions, kindness, generosity, grief, everything. I think that's all in the fiction. And the life, I look at the heart, it is a vital organ in the body, and it is situated right in the center of your chest. Everybody thinks heart is on the left side. Heart is here, right in the center. And that is where the heart is. Both sides are the lung. And heart is very peculiar because this is an organ just to beat at least 72 times a minute without stopping. From the time you are born until you die. Even this hall, air condition, has got 2 chillers. If one doesn't work, you can switch on to the other one. Here, no chance. You start beating the moment you are born. Even if you live up to 102, it keeps on beating. It has to beat, no way of stopping. And it's also is very special because the heart has got blood inside. It is full of blood. All the 4 chambers have got blood. But for heart pumping, you need oxygen, you need blood supply. It cannot steal the blood from the heart. It's like a bank cashier, The bank cashier has got plenty of money in the drawer, but he or she has to wait until end of the month for his salary to take home. He can't take it from there. So what happens is the blood supply needed for your heart muscle comes through these red arteries. They are called coronary arteries. They are called coronary arteries because they are like crown around the heart. They crown around the heart, supplying blood. And the problem happens when this artery slowly gets blocked. Slight rusting inside, more rusting, and suddenly it stops. You can compare it with a your pipeline. If your pipe slowly get little rusty inside, more rust, one day no water supply. So this is what happens in your brain. When the artery going to the brain is suddenly stopped, you get a brain attack, or we call it stroke. If the blood supply to the heart is gone, you get heart attack. Okay? So, what causes these arteries to go narrow or rusty? What causes arteries to go or blocked up? So, there are so many causes. These are all ones environmental, these are genetic. So, for example, if you get older and older, your chance of getting heart attack is more. If you are male, you have slightly more than female. And if you got a family history, you have more chances. But there are a lot of other things like diabetes, hypertension, lipids, overweight, unhealthy diet, smoking, and inactivity. All this can also cause the block. But we cannot modify this. Unfortunately, this is thrust on you. But at least these can be modified. That's what I'm going to talk today. Okay. So these factors which cause the arteries to go narrow or blocked are called risk factors. They are called risk factors. So as I said, you can have some risk factors you cannot modify. And there are other risk factors you can modify. And there is a lot of factors which we can improve. Okay. Now, I want to tell you a story. This is actually my favorite patient, 2 local patients admitted in WellCare Hospital when I was there. And this is an 83-year-old grandfather admitted to the hospital and a 32-year-old grandson admitted to the hospital. And the grandfather was admitted to room 103 and he was admitted with fever. His weight was only 68 kg. He was diagnosed a viral fever and his blood pressure was normal, sugar was normal, ECG was normal, X-ray test was normal, all other tests normal. And he was discharged home on the 3rd day. The same day, the grandson was admitted. And the grandson was admitted only 4 rooms away. He was 33, male, and admitted with chest pain. He weighed 103 kg. Okay? And his blood sugar was high, his blood pressure was high, his cholesterol was high. He didn't know any of these things. And he only smoked 60 cigarettes a day. And ECG showed a heart attack. And chest X-ray showed a big heart. He ended up with bypass surgery. Okay. So this is real story of the grandfather and grandson. And what do you think is their future? What do you think your future? This 83-year-old man might live another 20 years very happily. very, very happily. And this 32-year-old man is very unlikely to live 5 more years. Okay. So we just want to question who is to be blamed. Who is to be blamed? Okay, that is change in lifestyle. This is what happens in the new generation. Okay. So, again, you know who is this one? Anybody knows? Okay. Darwin, very good, very good. Okay. It took 50 million years for this one to become this. Okay. But what happened is, it took only 50 years for the man to go back. Computer and office and things like that. So, is it a revolution or progress? We don't know. This is what's happening. In the past, in the olden stage or Stone Age or whatever stage, people had been looking for food. They didn't have much food to eat, but they were much, much healthier. The modern man found the food. And this is the result in. And these are the people who are going towards diabetes. Everybody is eating junk food, no exercise, big tummies. Okay. And what happens is, all these affect your arteries, whether it goes to the brain, whether it goes to the heart. So what happens is, these are the arteries. If you got high cholesterol, high sugar, if you are smoking, if you are inactive, your arteries slowly start getting rusty, what we call atherosclerosis. And eventually, it blocks the artery, resulting in a stroke or a heart attack. But something I want to say, probably you are very late to listen to this. I am sorry. Because the process really starts from the first decade. So somebody is 10 years old, 11 years old, changes have already started. But at least look after your children. You can still do a lot more. So the question is, how can we prevent heart disease? So to prevent heart disease, you have to know the risk factors. As I said, these are risk factors we can't do very much. These are risk factors we can do a lot. We can improve it. And don't get very encouraged, ladies. We always say heart attack comes only for ladies. But God had been very fair, balancing. When women get heart attack, they die earlier than men. So men get heart attack, they may survive a bit more. So when a woman gets heart attack, it's much, much more serious issue. Okay. Okay, just start with obesity. And after coming to UAE, I realized how big a problem is this. And obesity is a growing problem, also in children. So the story is about 12% of the school children have overweight and obesity. And 20% of the children between 12 and 16 have obesity. And in adults, 78% of the women above 30 and 70% of the men above 30 have obesity. So it's a very, very big problem. Okay. And when you have obesity, you are heading for diabetes. So let's talk about body weight. So if you have overweight, it can cause diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, lung disease, and is often associated with high cholesterol. And you can get arthritis. When your weight is too much, your knees cannot carry. So your knees get cranky. And if you want to know how body mass index is calculated, body mass index, you find out the weight in kilograms divided by height into square. So if you are 60 kg and 1.7 height, 60 divided by 1.7 times 1.7, okay? The square, that's the BMI. And the BMI, if it is below 20, You don't find anybody below 20 here. You have to go to Ethiopia or somewhere. UAE, you don't find that. And 20 to 25 is normal. And 25 to 30 is overweight. And above that, you call it obesity. So if you want to find out what is your ideal maximum weight, very simple. It is 25 times your height into height. Okay? So if your height is 1.6 meters, 25 times 1.6 into 1.6. That gives your ideal weight. Don't go above that. Okay? Okay. The only way to reduce weight is diet and exercise. And this is another issue now, the waist circumference. Previously, we were thinking BMI is important. This is more important, your waistline. So if you measure your waistline, men maximum allowed is 95 centimeters, women 85 centimeters. There may be some regional differences, like if you go to China and Philippines, they're all small, maybe some difference. But for us, this is fair enough. And what happens is, if you got a lot of fat in your tummy, your chances of getting heart attack is very high. So measure your waistline, okay? Diabetes, it's very, very common. We are very proud of this structure, you all know, Burj Khalifa. And we have so many things to be proud about this. We have also diabetes because we are one of the world leaders. UAE has got very, very high number of diabetics. And it's interesting to see about 20% of our adults here have got diabetes. So among you, 1 in 5 has diabetes. Okay. So, but there is something more. Generally, it is believed that every diagnosed diabetes, there is an undiagnosed one floating in the community. So these are all diagnosed one, about 20%. So maybe the real number is much, much higher. And it is more worrying. The WHO has projected the number of diabetics in the world will be doubled by 2025. So another 11 years' time, the current number of diabetes is going to be increased. And there is something more interesting. This increase is much, much higher rate, much, much higher in India or Africa, Middle East and Asia. So looking at our population, Indians have got very, very, very high number of diabetes. So if you got a family history of diabetes, parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, anybody is diabetic, better you check. Most of the people think diabetes means blood sugar is high, so you will pass a little urine, sugar in the urine. That is not really true. There are so many things happening just below. We are only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Below that, there are a lot of things happening. So don't take diabetes as something simple. It is much more serious situation. And it is also found that by the time somebody is diagnosed with diabetes, if you have 10 people diagnosed as diabetic, 5 people already have problems in their heart. So I often say that diabetes is equal to first heart attack. So the moment you are found to be diabetic, go to the cardiologist, check your heart. Okay. And also, this is very interesting one. Sometimes doctors make you very happy. That's not always very good, You should make them happy, but not always good. Because if somebody has got a mildly raised fasting sugar, or somebody has got a mildly raised 2-hour blood sugar, the doctor will say, you are pre-diabetic. Or sometimes they say, you are mildly diabetic. And the patient is very happy, gets back to all their sweets and gulab jams and ice creams and all. I think it's wrong. I believe if you got any of the glucose abnormality, whether you are pre-diabetic, you are mildly diabetic, you should consider like pregnancy. In pregnancy, you don't say you are mildly pregnant. You only say you are pregnant or not pregnant. So, diabetes, whether it is borderline or pre-diabetic, take it seriously. Because you know this yellow line, that is the line when most of the people are diagnosed, okay? But there are nearly 10 years you go through this mild diabetic, pre-diabetic status, 10 years before it becomes. And during these 10 years, these are called the macrovascular complications. Your big arteries, brain, heart, everything. So what happens is during this stage also your arteries get narrow. That is why I say by the time your diabetes is diagnosed, a lot of people's arteries are already narrow. So don't take, if you take this message home, I'm happy, my day is made. If you have got, doctor tells you mildly diabetic, pre-diabetic, take it seriously. At least start lifestyle changes, diet and exercise. Because the diabetes affects almost every organ. It can affect your arteries, affect your heart, affect your brain, affect your kidneys, affect your eyes. This is one disease which is very nasty. And I always tell, it is a very good disease in very disciplined person's hands. And it's a very dangerous disease in people who are not disciplined. Okay, so take diabetes seriously. And we always talk about lifestyle changes in diabetes. The most important then are weight reduction. You try it, if your weight is higher than your expected normal weight, reduce your weight, and moderation of alcohol. I had a problem. I was giving a presentation in Catholic Church across there. And we had the bishop, everybody. It was a big gathering, nearly 1,000 people. So at the end of my presentation, the bishop objected. He said, "Doctor, you said stop smoking, but you said moderation of alcohol." So he was not very happy with me. But I said this, my presentation is purely scientific basis. There are some evidence, maybe a small amount of alcohol does some good, but I'm not saying you should all go and drink. But I'm just saying that is why it is moderation. But I think avoidance is the best. Okay. And regular exercise, relaxation exercise, meditation, and regular morning monitoring and follow up. These are the things we should do in life. Let's talk about high blood pressure. Normal blood pressure has to be below 140/90. The moment you touch 140/90, you call it hypertension. So we have to keep it below that. And 30% of the patients above 20 years in this country have got blood pressure. And half of them do not know. What happens is 50% of the people with the diabetes, 50% of the people with hypertension or high blood pressure do not have any symptoms. So they do not know they have hypertension or diabetes. That is why a periodic check is very important. And it is often found during a casual checkup. And it can cause all kinds of problems like heart attack, heart failure, stroke, kidney failure, bleeding into eyes, and so on. And check your blood pressure if you are above 45, at least once in 2 years. If you have got family history, at least once in a year. And if you have found to be high blood pressure, go for regular checkup, okay, and keep your blood pressure below 140/90. And often I said, many of the high blood pressure patients do not know they have high blood pressure, they have no symptoms. So when we say take medication, they'll say, "I don't have anything, I do not know I have high blood pressure. Why should I take?" So this is only natural, but blood pressure, as I said, also can affect your eyes, your brain, your heart, your kidneys, and your arteries. So it's very important to control the blood pressure. And blood pressure can be controlled by reducing weight, reducing salt, limiting alcohol, regular exercise, meditation and yoga, and the prayers. So what happens is the blood pressure has got a lot to do with your weight. So if you reduce, say, 5 kilos, your blood pressure comes down. You have to cut down your salt. When I talk about salt, the housewives start cooking with no salt in the diet and everybody else gets miserable. Maybe you don't have to do, but you have to remember don't add salt on the table. And remember the hidden salt. So papadums and crisps and nuts, French fries, lot of salt. So if you've got high blood pressure, control the added salt, control the hidden salt. Okay. And another essential evil we have, particularly Kerala people, high cholesterol. And it is very, very common. And there are different types of fats in the blood. You've got the total cholesterol, which is bad. You've got the LDL cholesterol, which is bad. Triglyceride is bad. But there is a good cholesterol also, which is called HDL. And we can modify our cholesterol consumption by skimmed milk, lean meat, more fish and poultry. And all fish are good for cholesterol except the good ones, prawns, crabs, and cuttlefish. Okay? So use low-fat spread, cut down on crisps, cakes, and chocolates and pastries, and prawns, crabs, egg yolk, and cuttlefish have got high cholesterol. A lot of my patients, I say, you can have omelette. Somebody say, oh my God, I can't live without an omelette in the morning. You can have your omelette. Take away your yellow. Just make a white of the egg omelette. Exercise. A lot of people ask me why I should have exercise. Here one of the problem is a person living in Sharjah, working in Jebel Ali. So he's 2.5 hours on the road in the morning, 2.5 hours in the evening. And the doctor says you must do 1 hour exercise. How can you do it? It's impossible. So his only exercise he has is driving. But I think it's very, very important to have some form of exercise. And exercise relaxes your body and mind. You feel energetic, helps to relax your and stay slim, strengthens your bones, ligaments, and muscles, prevent heart disease, lowers blood pressure, lowers sugar, lowers cholesterol, and it provides physical fitness. And regular exercise make you feel good. And what is exactly fitness? A lot of people ask what is fitness. Fitness is having 3 S: suppleness, strength, and stamina. And suppleness is your ability to twist and bend and do everything. So if you do exercise, that should give you suppleness. You should be able to twist and bend and whatnot. And second is strength. Strength, you need a strength to do pushing, pulling, carrying. And finally, you need stamina to keep going on. So you should select some exercise which will give you suppleness, strength, and stamina. So probably a mixture of little brisk walking and a slight weight bearing. And before you start, you should assess your physical fitness. Sometime, I still remember one of my patients who never exercised. He was about 52. I told you have to start exercise. I said, what is best? I said, no. Brisk walking, jogging, swimming, going on a treadmill, anything. So he met his neighbor who is a marathon runner. So he decided to join him. So even before he went for 10 minutes, he was on the floor. He collapsed, So actually, you have to really assess your fitness and do what you can do. Don't follow others. And choose the right form of exercise. Warm up first, work gradually, never overdo it, cool down gradually. And the 5 rules are to choose an exercise which you can easily do, and which you can enjoy, which you can tolerate, and it gives all the 3S, and wear the correct clothes and shoes. This is very important because whenever I tell the patient, they go and join a very expensive club. Okay, so I said, you must do exercise. So he goes and joins an expensive club. But the club is about 2 hours drive from the home. He never goes. Only person benefited is the bank, they got the money. So you should do something. If you have got stairs, you go up and down the stairs. If you got a little corridor in your apartment, that's good enough. So select something which is easy to do, something which you can enjoy, something you can do regularly. For example, a brisk walking for 30 to 45 minutes, and you should do it regularly. Do it 4 times a day. You can have Friday in the church, maybe Sunday to sleep, at least 5 days, okay. So the golden rule is get started, build it up gradually, exercise regularly, keep it up. And another big danger we have is smoking. And smoking is dangerous and fatal. And you may not remember when you smoke, your children pick up these habits. And a smoker drowns himself, which contains not only nicotine and carbon monoxide, over 3,000 harmful chemicals in the smoke. We always say, oh, there is nicotine, there is carbon monoxide. There is much, much more than that. Even the glue they use for fixing this cigarette cover, there are over 3,000 harmful effects. So that is what happens to smoking. So smoking causes heart disease, lung cancer, peptic ulcers, bronchitis, arterial disease, and passive smoking. If you are a regular smoker, whoever sits with you in the office or home, they got a 30% risk, even though that person is innocent, not smoking. So husbands, when you smoke, you think of it. Particularly if a wife is pregnant, don't smoke at all. So there are health reasons for smoking. Number one is 1/8 of the smokers die of heart disease. 1/3 of them have cancers, some form of cancer. 1/10 of them get lung cancer. One in 5 gets bronchitis. 1 in 6 suffer from peptic ulcer. Smoking during pregnancy produces small babies. And passive smoking is harmful to people around. And they are innocent people. They never smoke. They never enjoy the smoking. So reason for giving up, the social and economic reasons, children pick up very easily, unfair to the people who work with, smoking is antisocial and leads to addiction and smell, bad breath, stained teeth and gum and whatnot, and the financial loss. I had a chap who had been smoking 60 to 80 cigarettes a day for the last 23 years. 60 to 80 cigarettes a day. So I said, bring your calculator, let us work it out. So we worked out the amount of money he spent on cigarette, plus the interest. He could have bought a 1-bedroom apartment in the Palm. So that's it. There's a lot of money spent also. Okay. So healthy eating. You should always think of bad food, which you can shorten your life, all your pastries, your creams, your sugar, and you can turn it into healthy fruits and vegetables. And when you eat, you enjoy the food, eat variety, eat the right amount, eat plenty of starch and fiber, avoid too much of fat and sugar, avoid too much of food and alcohol. The next is relaxation. None of us have this opportunity, this fortune. This is very important. Relaxation is good for your health. It reduces blood pressure, relieves stress, yoga and meditation and prayers. These are good forms of relaxation. And plan holidays. So stress. Everybody talk about stress. What is stress? Anybody can answer. What is stress? It's very interesting to understand what is stress. Sorry? Mental? Okay. All right. Okay. Now, I wanted to convey a different message. Many people consider stress equal to the work or demands put on you. So, if your work is busy, you have a lot of work to finish, targets to meet, that is not stress. Because you put the same stress to 5 people may react differently. Somebody might enjoy the overwork. Okay. Somebody might tolerate. So, the stress is the reaction of a person to physical, emotional, or environmental pressure put on the person. So, the message here is it is your reaction. For example, you are going in the Sheikh Zayed Road, somebody come and zigzag in front of you and nearly caused an accident. So, the 10 cars behind, somebody will hoot, somebody will overtake him and go in front of him and slow down the cart, or somebody else will lower the window and shout at him, and another person will listen to the music, and another person may say, oh my God, this lad is making a mistake, Lord, I pray for him, he shouldn't meet an accident. So the same stress, people are reacting differently. So I always tell the story of the bank counter. This was several years ago when we didn't have ATM or anything. And the Saturday, Sunday is off in Singapore, the bank. So Friday evening, 3 o'clock the bank closes. Between 2 and 3 there's always a big queue. So one day, 10 people lined up. They want to cash some check for the weekend. And 10 people, the first person is a Chinese old elderly business lady. She collected the whole week's money from her small business, all coins. So she brought in the bag full of coin, and the person who is at the counter is counting the coin. So it took several minutes. So the 9 people behind are put to the same stress. Okay, same kind of stress. But one person starts shouting, my God, this lady only found time today to come. She could go and sleep, and we could have brought another day, and what is the hurry and all. And another person may come out and light a cigarette and keep smoking. And there may be a lady in the queue, open the handbag and read the book, enjoy the book. And another person say, I'm not going to make it, I don't think it's going to happen. So he just walks away. He decides to give up. So what I'm trying to say is, in that queue, 9 people were put to the same kind of stress, but 9 people react differently. One react by taking a cigarette, one react by shouting, one react by reading the book, one react like walking away. So what I'm trying to say is, again, stress is a person's physical and a reaction to physical and environmental pressure put on the patient. Okay. And everyone reacts to the same stressor differently. And it is very common complaint, the people, particularly our people who are working here, and they often say, difficult targets to meet, difficult bosses to satisfy, and mismatch of skills and demands. It's very common. Mechanical engineer is appointed to do civil engineering. So that's another one. And a lot of responsibility without power. So the boss will say, you do everything by weekend, but they don't have any decision-making power. They cannot even buy a thing for the need. So, and finally, insecurity of job. You worry that you may lose the job. Okay. Here it is very different. It says a very demanding boss in the office and a disagreeing partner in home. Both can cause stress. Okay. And this is Sheikh Zayed Road. This is another cause for stress. Okay. And something interesting, Do you know what? That's what? An apple. What is this? Cherry. What am I trying to say? Anybody understand? Sorry? It is something different. The quality of human life was much, much better when apple and blackberries were just fruits. Okay. The husband works until 7:30. He comes home. Naturally, he expects a cup of coffee or a tea. And the wife is a full-time housewife. So he walks in. She is still on the phone. What's up? So listening, and she's laughing and all. It's just ignoring. That husband has come, and the poor chap the bread earner has worked the whole day. He deserves a cup of tea and a smile and a welcoming smile. But this is what is happening now. Change. Facebook. Okay. They are all good. They are all very useful. But I think it all affects the life. So coping with stress, there are different ways of coping the stress. Identify the stressor. So you have to really find out what is causing the stress. Is it the neighbor? Is it the work? Is it the boss? Is it the husband? Is it the wife? You have to identify what causes the stress. And avoid or modify the stressor. And organize the work and avoid overwork. Do not plan for impossible targets. Avoid harmful ways of coping. So, for example, smoking, alcohol, overeating, and drugs. If you got stress, don't go on to this. You should identify, you should modify, or avoid. I had a very interesting patient. He was a Lebanese chap, 38 years old, had a big heart attack. He was admitted. And then I had to tell him and his wife that you had a heart attack, you need an angiography. So he said, "Doctor, how do you know I have a heart attack?" So I said, "Your ECG is showing, your blood tests are showing. How sure are you?" I said, "I'm quite sure you had a heart attack." "Do you know I'm only 38? You think I had a heart attack?" So I said, I told the wife also, "Get the medicine, hang on. By evening, he came and signed against medical advice. He took a flight to Lebanon. And he had, anyway, he was admitted, he had angiography, he had bypass surgery done. So he came back after 4 weeks to see me. So I said, "Sorry, doctor, I made a mistake. I couldn't accept. I'm only 36 that I had a heart attack. It's natural, I said, "Don't worry, it's natural, I believe you, I appreciate you had been frank and all." So then I start asking him, "You have to change, you have to be a good boy hereafter, give up smoking, everything." So 3 months later, he came, and he looked happy, but then he's back smoking 60 cigarettes. He used to smoke 60 cigarettes. So I said, "Come on, I told you so much. You had already bypassed. You are only 36 or 38. You should not smoke." So he said, no, doctor. I have a tough job. I am fighting with the boss all the time. I come home, I fight with the wife all the time. So 30 cigarettes for the boss, 30 cigarettes for the wife. So 60 cigarettes. So I said, "Well, you have done very well. You identify the stressor, what is causing the stress. So what you have to do is modify or avoid it." So he came 2 months later. He's now smoking only 30 cigarettes. So I said, "Well done. What have you given up the job, changed the job?" No. I give up my wife. So anyway, whatever it is, it's a good example. You identify the cause and modify it. Okay. You have also to think positively. So every day we do something in front of the mirror. Whether you have hair or no hair like me, you still look in the mirror and comb your hair. And ladies look in the mirror and put lipstick. So when you do that every day, first thing in the morning, you have to say something to yourself. You just say, "This is the day God has given to me. This is the day God has given to me. And I'm not going to allow anybody to spoil it." You should have the power. You should have the willingness. You should have the confidence to say that This is my day. God has given me. I'm not going to let anybody spoil it. You should have control over yourself. Okay, that's fine. Personality. I'm coming to the end. I think it's not been too long. There could be two types of personalities. Type A personality, we see a lot around. They are promotion conscious, they are ambitious, overreacting, strictly time-keeping, and they have no time for the family, they don't have the time for themselves, they are always on the go. And they are very busy every day. And there is a type B person who is very organized, very relaxed, and he does his work all very well, but he doesn't get stress. And if you have a type A personality, you run a slightly high risk of heart attack. You can change from type A personality to type B personality by changing your attitude, changing your behavior, changing your approach to things. And a lot of people, when I make presentations like this, a lot of people come and say, I already had a heart attack, your talk was useless to me. This is not true. A heart attack, angioplasty, bypass surgery, this is not end of the world. This is not end of the life. I think there is a lot more in future. This is a little jolt God has given you to remind you, you be a good boy or a good girl in future. So take it as a challenge, modify your lifestyle and go on. So stop smoking, lower your cholesterol, control your blood pressure, control your sugar, regular exercise and lot of relaxation, and take your medications regularly. This is after a heart attack. And eat healthy food. And good health is not, a lot of people think good health is absence of illness. That's not illness. It is a balance of physical and spiritual well-being and social well-being. So I'm going back to my first statement. You need only two things. You don't need money. You don't need expensive car. You don't need very expensive villa and swimming pool and all. What you need in life is only two things: good health and peace of mind. Good health is something you have to do a lot with. God has only a small part to play. And peace of mind, more. You have most of the part to do. Still God has a small part to say. So let me conclude my presentation. Before that, I just want to tell you a story. Some of you may be thinking that some of these stories are related to you or relating to you. So I was giving a presentation like this. There were about 400 people in a big hall. So I made this presentation and I just completed the story of Mr. George, more or less same presentation. Then somebody at the back said, "Doctor, stop, please come." So I found somebody collapsed at the back of the hall. So I went there. This was just only a fainting. So I said, take him somewhere, give him a cup of coffee, make him relax. So when the lecture finished, I wanted to go and have a look at him. And somebody brought blood pressure apparatus and also we checked him. Everything was normal. I said, "What happened? What happened, sir?" He said, "When you told the story of George, I thought I am George." So he really related. So that's why he had a fainting episode. But don't go with a fright. I'm only just telling you what you should do. Okay. So heart disease remains as a leading killer in the world. It is the leading cause of death in UAE. More and more young people are being affected. And death due to heart attack can be prevented. Identify the risk factors and modify them. Maintain ideal body weight. Give up smoking and excess alcohol, control blood pressure, diabetes, and lower your cholesterol, avoid or modify stress, regular physical and spiritual exercise, take time to relax. Thank you very much.
What is the difference between cardiac arrest and heart attack?
Yeah. Cardiac arrest is a very general term, means that heart has suddenly stopped. Heart attack, you only get a attack, your heart may not stop. But with a heart attack, sometimes heart can stop also. So your question is, this is only when, as a result of heart attack, the heart stops, you call it. Yeah. Okay? Yeah.
Actually, I want to tell an example from the life. From my appearance, everybody can see that I don't have normal weight. But by His grace, by God's grace, I don't have diabetes, I don't have cholesterol, and I don't have any symptoms of heart attack also. But one of my colleague, he's very, we can say that he's underweight. And when I talk to him, he's having high cholesterol and BP also. So people generally having a thinking that those who are having obese only having the chances of getting heart attack. So that should be clarified.
Yeah. This is a very common question wherever I go. Your overweight or your obesity has nothing to do with your other things in life. So a slim person who appear very healthy and fit can have high blood pressure, can have high cholesterol, can have sugar. So your body appearance has nothing to do with possibility of heart attack or not. Okay?
140 by 90 or 120 by 80 is the normal blood pressure.
Okay, that's very good. A good question. His question is, I mentioned 140 over 90 or above is hypertension. And his question is it 120 over 80? 120 over 80 is the optimum blood pressure we should have. I put 140 and 90 because the moment you touch 140, the moment you touch 90, you need to take medication or treatment. So that is optimum level you can go safely. 139, 89. The ideal blood pressure is 120, 80. Good. If somebody has suspicion of a heart attack, there's a lot of things in the media, in the net, on the phone and things like that, saying that take a good breath in, out, hold your breath, all kinds of things. They do not work. What you have to do is, if you get heart attack, you relax and ask for help. Ask for help. It is very important because when we were medical students, long time ago, when a person gets a heart attack, we admit them, give them painkiller, we pray to God that he recovers. Sometimes he spends 30 days in the hospital. Okay. Some 15 years ago or 20 years ago, we got what is called clot busters. These are medicines which will dissolve the clot which is causing the block. And then we found 50% of the people only it works. Now what we do is what's called a primary PCI, primary intervention. As soon as the patient comes with a chest pain, we take them to the cath lab, we do an angiography, find where is the block, open the block, if necessary put a stent inside. And by which the heart muscle not get damaged at all. If you don't do that, within 3 hours, your heart muscle can get damaged. Once it gets damaged, it's become fibrous only, never the elastic muscle. So the message here is if you suspect, take the patient immediately to the nearest hospital where there are facilities. And all these breathing and this and that, they don't work, they don't help. But the most important thing is to relax, ask for help. I think, I must say you had been a wonderful audience, very receptive. I didn't see anybody sleeping. It had been great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Doctor. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ ഹാർട്ടിന് കിട്ടേണ്ട എല്ലാ ഡോസും കിട്ടിയിരിക്കുന്നു തോന്നുന്നു. ഇനി മനസ്സ് തീരുമാനിച്ചാൽ മതി നമ്മളെങ്ങനെ ജീവിക്കണം. ഡോക്ടറിൻ്റെ ക്ലാസ് ഞാൻ കേട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ ഹൃദയം ഇടയ്ക്കിടയ്ക്ക് തുടിച്ചെന്നോട് ചോദിക്കുമായിരുന്നു കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ എന്ന്. കാരണം സാധാരണ നമ്മുടെ ജീവിതശൈലിയും ഈ ഒരു അവസ്ഥയിലേക്ക് നമ്മളെ നയിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. പണ്ടൊക്കെ ഹാർട്ട് അറ്റാക്കൊക്കെ വളരെ റെയറായിരുന്നു. ഇപ്പം കോമണാണ്. ഡോക്ടർ ഇത്രയും നല്ല ക്ലാസ് എടുത്തു, നമ്മുടെ ഇടയിൽ വന്നു, ക്ഷണം സ്വീകരിച്ച് സെൻറ്റ് തോമസ് ഓർത്തഡോക്സ് കത്തീഡ്രലിൻ്റെ വകയായിട്ട് എല്ലാ നന്ദിയും ഈ സമയത്ത് ഡോക്ടറിൻ്റെ സമക്ഷം സമർപ്പിക്കുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ ഇടവകയുടെ ഒരു സ്നേഹത്തിൻ്റെ പ്രതീകമായിരിക്കുന്ന ഈ മൊമെൻറ്റോ ഇപ്പോൾ ഡോക്ടറിന് കൊടുക്കുന്നതായിരിക്കും. ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കുവാൻ ഇവിടെ വന്ന് നമ്മുടെ ക്ഷണം സ്വീകരിച്ച് വന്ന ഡോക്ടറിനുള്ള എല്ലാ നന്ദി ഈ സമയത്ത് സമർപ്പിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യും. താങ്ക് യു ഡോക്ടർ.
How can you identify a chest pain probably which can be related to heart, and if such a thing arise, what is the first aid you can do at home if there anything?
The heart attack can be typical or atypical, and the typical one is you get a pain just behind the breastplate, and it is something like a heavy weight put on you, or somebody is trying to squeeze your chest. It's a squeezing tightness in the chest. It could be associated with pain going to the neck, pain going to the shoulder, and you may profusely sweat. A lot of people sweat, and you may have a little palpitation or bit of difficulty in breathing. But the classic one is a pain which is a crushing pain, or as if a weight is sitting there, often goes to the shoulder, often go to the jaw, and many of the patients sweat profusely, as if they had a shower, profusely sweating. This is typical one. But some people may get only a gastric pain. This is what happening to many people. They get a fullness here and a gastric type of pain. They usually take some water, milk, some antacid, and it is not going, So that can be. But sometimes it can come without any pain, particularly old people and diabetic people. Sometimes they just collapse, sometimes they become short of breath, no pain at all. So this is called a silent heart attack. As I said, what you can do is, you cannot do much of first aid. There's nothing much you can do except to call for help, get an ambulance, get to the nearest hospital. Thanks.